offensively, it's been kind of a mess for them to this point. And, just watching what they do offensively, it's very much about the running backs. The two running backs they have are playmakers. Those are guys who can give you some problems. Siobhan Wright is a transfer from, I believe it's D2 Charleston is the program that he comes from, where his offensive coordinator also comes from, where's the head coach. But on the year, he's run for 167 yards at about 4.5 yards per carry with one touchdown at this point. And then Telly Johnson Jr., 153 yards, just under 5 yards a carry and a touchdown for him. Those are the two guys that they are going to lean on offensively. Those are the two guys really the entire offense goes through. And it's kind of up to them to get it done because there's just not a whole lot. They'll put them in the wildcat for some short yardage situations. But those are running backs who can make big plays. I mentioned Telly Johnson. He had a 75-yard touchdown against Maryland. That was kind of the only big moment their offense had in that game, but he still hit that big run. And then Siobhan Wright's got some burst to him. Kind of a small, diminutive guy. He's only like 5'8", but he can really move and make some plays. Their quarterback, and why am I blanking? Josh Holst is a run threat. On the season, only 18 carries for 13 yards. It doesn't blow you away, but he can move a bit. They'll get him involved in the run game. He can scramble. Not going to kill you with his legs, but that is a part of it. They mostly, when you look at their passing game, they're trying to get it out quickly underneath throws. They don't push it downfield a lot, and what he does, he kind of just lobs it up there. But really, they're trying to get the ball out quick. And a couple reasons for that. One is that the pass catchers don't scare you. They do have a receiver who does look the part. Gary Givens, who is a guy on the outside. De'Ari Rogers is sort of the one guy that, to this point, 10 catches, 89 yards, and I believe they've gotten him involved in the ground game as well. He's got one carry for 22 yards. That's sort of like one of the playmakers that they have, I would say. But Givens is a guy who looks like a big body guy on the outside who they try to throw it up to every now and then, but not that much. It will be a matchup you look at for Kelly Jones and Diego Broomfield. I keep talking about this, though. The reason they get the ball out so quickly, the reason it's really on the running backs, the offensive line is just not good. They got really killed with the guys they lost from that group a season ago. They have one guy back who's like a first-team All-MAC player, but that's really it for them. They don't block well. Run blocking, pass protection, it's just not a group that blocks all that well. So it really comes down to the running backs to make plays. That said, look, this is a team that wants to possess the ball. They try to slow the game down, limit possessions. That is, if you look at how they have sprung their upsets, it is all about ball control. It is about keeping the other team off the field. And really, it's the idea of they are trying to limit opportunities so that, in theory, if we can make one play, we're going to have a chance to win the game. We want to make this thing close into the fourth quarter and give ourselves a chance to make the one play to win the game. That's the mentality that they take. So they are going to run the ball a lot. Whether it's all that effective or not, that's what they're going to lean on. They will run if it's 3rd and long. They don't care. They will hand it off because they're ultimately saying, like, hey, we'll see if we can get some good yards here, and they'll go for it on 4th downs. They're pretty aggressive at going for 4th downs, and that's where they'll line up and run it. You'll see them mix up the personnel groupings. It's mostly 11 personnel, but you'll see some 12. You'll see some 20 personnel, some different formations. They're not super spread, but they're also not like just pro style lineup in the power sets all the time either. So they'll mix things up a little bit, but ultimately this is a team that wants to slow down the game, possess the clock, run the crap out of the ball, and hope they can burst a big run. I say all this for MSU's defense, and through the first couple weeks, State's defensive approach when facing these teams they've outmatched has been to kind of just play super conservatively. They've played with light boxes, 3-down linemen, putting 5 guys in the box. They're sort of just playing off and saying, yeah, we're going to trust that you can't consistently run the ball on us over the course of an entire game. We're not going to give up the explosive play. We're just going to sit back and say that you cannot go on long drives and sustain them, and we're going to force you to make mistakes along the way. I don't think that's the approach State should take in this game. This is a game where if I'm State, I am trusting my corners, and I'm loading up the box. I'm loading the box and saying their quarterback cannot beat us with his arm. Plus, Kelly Jones and Diego Brumfield at this point have played really well. I don't know how many people saw one of the guys for PFF put out some tweets showing their grades for the season, and those are 2 of the highest graded cornerbacks to this point nationally through 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I know we talk about level of competition, but hey, Jordan Tyson for Arizona State's a stud. Southern Miss has some guys in the receiving corps that I think are good players. And Kelly Jones and Diego Brumfield are 2 of the best players nationally right now when it comes to being coverage corners on the outside. This is not a receiving core that scares you. This is not a quarterback whose arm scares you. You trust those guys to cover one-on-one, and I say you load the box. And you could say, we'll just trust your defensive front, the guys up front, to just make some plays. I think this is a game where NIU, their comfort zone is if we're just going to give they're fine getting 3 to 4 yards of play, right? They're fine just, we handed it off and you stuffed us for 3 yards. We don't care. We're going to run the same play 5 times in a row, or, we'll run it 4 times in a row and we'll get a first down. And we'll just do that over and over and over again. If you're State, I think you have to eliminate that happening. Do you risk giving up an explosive run, which, like I mentioned, last week, Northern Illinois, the only reason their offense did anything is because they had a 75-yard touchdown run. Like they broke the one big run. Do you risk giving that up? You do, but that's where I think NIU cannot consistently do that over the course of a whole game. They're not an explosive enough offense that you worry about that happening consistently. I think if you're State, you take away the ground game, you load up the box and blow up their offensive line, force their running backs to make plays, force their quarterback to prove he can beat you, and you trust that they can't. And I don't think their offense can sustain drives if you do it. And I think that's how you shut down this offense.
Chaz Johnson for the Bucks just took a huge hit on that return. Anyway, hope
That
he's
game's already
okay,
started.
man. Yeah, it's on ESPN. Anyway, something I want to point out about Northern Illinois, and I don't know if you mentioned this necessarily, but I feel like what you said kind of touched on it. They love to run the ball. If you look through how many they played 2 games, and I know it's only 2 games so far. They have 0, Andrew, 0 receiving touchdowns. I don't think that's going to change in this next game against the Bulldogs. I mean, it could. I mean, do you mix it up a little bit if you're Northern Illinois because you're, playing an SEC defense? Like, what do you do here? Because, like you said, they love to eat up that clock. They love to run the ball, play conservative. Um, I mean, but they have some guys out there they could trust with the football through the air. They just have yet to hit the end zone.
To this point, and obviously this is not factoring in sacks. This is not factoring in scrambles. But they have thrown the ball 46 times as a team in 2 games. They have run the ball 96 times. They have 50 more rushing attempts than they do passing attempts. It's very clear what this team wants to do, and it's smart, frankly. Look, they don't have the playmakers at receiver. They don't have the talent at quarterback. They got 2 guys on offense that are running backs that can make plays, and you give them the ball and you see what can happen. If you're a team like NIU, I totally get that approach. But again, if you're State, I think it has to be, we talk a lot about last year, the game at Arizona State with Cam Skattebo and State's defensive approach in that game, choosing to play super conservatively against that, and they got run all over. And, I understand what they were trying to accomplish. I just think they didn't have the guys that executed all that well. And I do think that's a little bit of a different type of team than what we're seeing here with NIU. But NIU, man, really, look, could State sit back, play conservatively all game, and still probably get enough stops to win? Yes. I'm not saying that if State plays conservatively, NIU is going to run all over them. But I think your chances of shutting them down are to say, we are going to take away the run game and force you to have to either break a long run because we missed a tackle, or your quarterback's going to have to do something he hasn't shown he can do yet. I think if you do that, you're able to really stop this offense.